Hello everyone and welcome. Well, it's time to put on the garden boots, and today's the day that I chose for a simple reason, because it's super sunny out. No rain, no gray skies. So there's my garden tools and I am happy to adventure outside. We're going to plant and we're going to clean the porch and rid it of its winter mess. And that means dust, dirt, and cobwebs and spiders. And then we can later enjoy the finished look. So grab your favorite garden boots and let's get to planting. And just look at these beauties. They're herbs, and there are several types of herbs for my raised bed. But first, a cup of coffee and just admiring the gorgeousness of this geranium. It happens to be coral, not my favorite color, but it's so beautiful. How could I not stop and chat with it this morning as I walk out to my little, what I call my French herb potager garden in the making. This is its second year. In the background there, I have planted some garlic from last year, and in the front, some creeping jennies. Lots of weeds growing there. And look at this beautiful English thyme. It is from last year, and the parsley. And of course, here are two gorgeous rose bushes that we transplanted from the front of the house to the back, and they are flourishing. There's all kinds of buds on them, and they're so pretty, so velvety and delicate, and it really excites me that they found this place in the backyard, and they seem to be enjoying it for the present time anyways. So looks like I should stop admiring and get on with the day's work, because there's a lot to do, believe it or not. So you don't have to have this big, spectacular, magnificent garden. You can have just a few of your favorite pieces. And now I'm just going to take some time to look and figure out how I want to plant and where I want my little herbs to go. It's pretty much mostly herbs today and a couple of tomato plants. I plan on expanding my garden in the very near future, but for now I'm just going to get this assortment into the ground and share with you some of the herbs that I love to cook with, and the culinary aspects of the herbs that I choose. And as you can see, of course, weeds. Yes, weeds do grow in a raised bed garden, so don't think just because it's elevated upward that those little pesky things don't get in, because they do. Here I have basil, Italian oregano, thyme, lemon thyme, and a huge assortment. But I'm going to get my gloves on and I'm going to start pulling those weeds. It seems to just be grass, but those roots are so long and thick. And yeah, they're just weedy and they need to be tended to. But when it's all said and done, it's just a good feeling. So this is my little potager in the making. That's one of the raised beds. And I just kind of lay out the plants and get a good grip for spacing and how I want them to come together. And then I step back and kind of gauge, is it enough room? Because you can't just go by what it looks like when you put them in, of course, because you have to give them time to grow. Some of my favorite culinary herbs to use for cooking: basil, thyme, flatleaf parsley, oregano, and this is the reason. Culinary aspect of them, to cook with them. And I just love the fact that a lot of them are perennials, and once they're in and rooted well, they pretty much serve themselves. So as you can see here, I have this little bowl. I got it at an antique store, and it was labeled as an herb bowl, and it was perfect for what I want inside the house, because what I do is I just snip the ends of some fresh herbs. I add a little bit of water to the bowl. I think you can see that. And these herbs will stay fresh in that water for about a good 5 or 6 days. And I just keep it right there on the counter. And when I have, when I'm making scrambled eggs or I'm making a fresh salad, I just pick from the assortment of herbs I have. And right now I have some, I'm trying to remember what type of thyme this is. I think this is English thyme, and I have some rosemary, and I used up a little bit of the flat leaf Italian parsley that I also had in here. So this is just a cute little gem, and I love it for sitting on my counter. Now, of course, you can do this fresh and put it in a mason jar with some water in it. And if you want to keep it longer than that time period, you can also put it in the refrigerator. And what I do is I just slit a little baggie Ziploc and slit it on the side so it fits over the top of the herbs, and they'll stay fresh in the refrigerator for much longer. But this is why I like to garden, because I love herbs and I love the smell of all these herbs. Now, this year I have lemon thyme, I think English thyme, rosemary, basil, flat leaf parsley, Italian oregano, and planted a lot of garlic from last winter that has been in the ground, and probably will be ready to pull, I think, in another 3 or 4 weeks. I have to double check on that. But I plan on adding some tarragon this year. These pretty much are the herbs that I use throughout the year. And basil, of course, is an annual, so you have to plant it in the season where I live. You have to plant it every year. And sometimes I go hog crazy on basil, but this year I just bought 2 plants. They do attract the beetles, and I bought just 2 because if you prune them right and take care of them, those 2 plants will yield quite a bit of basil that you can use for different types of pestos, and just to roll up and chiffonade in slices and add them to garlic bread or salad or whatever you want. But I love a little garden herb potager. So that's kind of the theme that I have going out with my 2 raised beds. And then the next 2 beds will actually have an assortment of some vegetables, and we'll see how those end up growing. So, you know, in gardening, like I said, it is one of those things that even if you've never done it before, you can very easily just carve out a small area, even if it means it's in flower pots. Good soil, good water, good sun, good light for them to grow, and just paying attention to what's going on with them will give you some good return in your flowers. Now, sometimes I think I'm doing really well at the green thumb, and other times I just am failing. I had a plant last year, I think it's called a creeping Jennifer, and I bought a few more this year, but I have put them out in the raised bed as a border. It was doing so well in the pot, and it was delicate and beautiful, and it was just getting ready to bloom its little flowers. And then I came out one day and it was just crinkled and wrinkled and just bit the dust. And it was just like overnight. It looked like it had burned or something. And I don't know what happened to it, but this year I decided, okay, maybe it just wasn't quite enough sun to be on the inside of the my enclosed porch, because it really is a border type plant. So I've put them along the border on the front of one of my raised beds, and so far they seem to be doing pretty well. But I think gardening depends on how you look at it. If you are going to look at gardening as being grandiose, and that you can't do it unless you have a lot of property, or, you know, what's the sense of just having a flower garden if you can't have a vegetable garden? And none of that holds true. You can have a mix of it, you can do a little bit of it, and there's so many varieties of being able to garden. You have to remember, it's work. There's weeds to pull, and the weeds never seem to go away. You do create a mess, but then when you're done, you can just step back and enjoy the beauty of your flowers, your plants, your herbs. That's what it's all about. My very favorite and very partial to this flower, and that's the geranium. I love them in the front, I love them in the back. And I love the culinary aspect of herbs because I love to cook. And so I love them in the raised beds and even close on the back porch. And next, of course, it's time to knock all the winter debris off of the back porch. I mean, it gets so dusty, dirty, grimy, full of spider webs and spider eggs, and so it takes a good scrubbing. Get the broom out and just knock those webs and those spider eggs down. I take everything, put it out on the backyard. It looks like I'm having a garage sale, and I hose it down. And one of my tips for this week is the Dawn Power Wash. I love this stuff. I use it inside and out. It's great. It just really cleans through dirt and grime. Now it's time to kick those boots off and get inside the house and have a little bit of lunch and put those herbs on it. And then back out to the garden to give it a good watering. Once everything's in the ground, it really, really needs to have that good watering and give it some time to perk up. And here's my beautiful thyme from last year. And even the roses, they're just gorgeous. And how nice is it to go back into the back porch with it clean and fresh? I love it. Thank you for visiting my little herb garden. I hope this inspires you to create, no matter what the size of space is, a little bit of a flower and or herb growing or vegetables. It's really enjoyable, and the bounty of it is awesome. So this is my little French potager garden in the making.